Today I want to talk about AI art and machine learning generated images. It's not an easy topic to talk about. It's a big one. Lots of things happening out there. A very fragile situation for the art community. But I really want to discuss some of the concerns and opportunity and cover all the points that you see on your screen right now. I'm Luis Celestino. I'm an artist, educator, and recruiter focused on creatives in the entertainment industry. So I'll try to bring all of those hats and experience to discuss replacements and as well as my view of the future and where we could be going. I know this will change a lot in the near future, but I really feel that there are some opportunities in other areas that artists will find a way to fit in. And I also want to discuss quality and what's the end goal that I envision for AI, at least in the next 10 years or so. The first time I saw an image generated by AI that really made a wow situation was this one. I really enjoy the freshness of the colors, as well as like paint strokes, if you could say that. There are architectural elements really well defined, like sunlight really well defined as well. So it was one of those moments that I said, yeah, I didn't think we would see this in our lifetimes, and now it's time to start thinking about this. Little did I know that it would get to the point it is right now. And also I didn't know that all the concerns that were involving this topic and would be like a big topic of discussion going forward. The biggest of them right now is the data sets. So what goes into those models and why they are harmful to some people out there. I don't want to go into a lot of details. I'll add a lot of links in the description below. Town hall discussions from the Concept Art Association, interviews with Carla Ortiz and Steven Zapata and all those people that are really into this and having a very deep conversation with the US Copyright Office and all of that to try to get to a point that makes sense. So I'll leave to them all the quality material they put out there. Carla did a brief intro in both town halls from the Concept Art Association. So that is great content to learn what AI is, how it generates images and all. So I'll jump one step ahead and just discuss some examples from the data sets and copyright infringement that I think are clear from my collection of data from Midjourney specifically, but definitely then we'll step ahead and talk a little more on concepts, then discussing the current situation right now. And the first example I want to discuss is this one, or actually those two. The first of them I found in the Midjourney community. The prompt said something like Rick Grimes from Walking Dead and all of that. So there are lots of problems in there. You can look from an input standpoint. The data sets are using a lot of images from the actor that played Rick, a lot of promotional material from The Walking Dead that is copyrighted, and like putting out something that is direct competition to Walking Dead promotional material. So a lot of artists, photographers, and designers are being harmed by this being out there. I don't want to go a lot into the fairness of that and progress and all of that, but you do have international laws for the use of data and scraping data on the internet. And a lot of those data sets were used primarily for research purposes, and now they are offered as a product to the public, as well as they are all around the internet. Some of them in reference packs being sold, as well as a lot of products out there. So it's harmful to a lot of different artists. So that's an argument interesting for the discussion of the fair use. I'm gonna add a link to the description as well, a blog post that is really amazing and really covers this topic with a lot more information. The second one is Mobius inspired work. It had on the prompt Mobius name, so it's also getting information from an artist that is dead, but not dead from for over 70 years. So that, according to most copyright laws, it's not legal as well. And it's harmful for the family of Mobius that owns the copyrights to every book, print, and everything that is being sold out there with his artwork. That could be replaced in even like a movie in Mobius style, using that specific language, visual language, would be harmful for the family that wouldn't be seeing that kind of money if it went that route of like, you don't need copyright. And we're getting to a moment in time where videos are going to be made by AI. That's definitely more a matter of when than a matter of if. So this is definitely something worth discussing. The next example is a bit of a dodgy one. So I wanted to see what's the current state of copyright infringement and how much of the art of the current generation is on those data sets. So I asked Midjourney V4 to imagine a new painting by Lowish. Lowish is one of the biggest artists out there on social media, like 2.5 million followers on Instagram and all of that. I'm not like happy about putting her name in there, but I really wanted to see what's the state of that. And I was really shocked to see that the results are interesting. They don't look like Lowish work, to be honest, and they even are really far from the subtleties and the beauty of her line and use of colors and all of that. So it's pretty far, but for most laymen, it could be a substitution for some of her work if they are buying prints, if they like want just something to decorate their rooms and all of that, and they don't have like the personal relationship with the artist. Definitely that could be a replacement for her work. But the biggest part that like got me really shocked was that the algorithm tried signing Lowish in a lot of those images. So it's weird. It didn't sign directly, but it normally uses language in a something that resembles our language, at least English and Portuguese from Brazil, from where I'm from. But it like changed the letters a bit, but it's definitely, and I'm laughing out of shock and rage that it's trying to forge something that looks like a signature. So it's super crazy. It looks a bit like her signature, not as stylish like as all her work, but definitely one of the biggest examples I could find and generated even by myself. It's funny to see of like a very direct copyright infringement. With all that said, we see a really clear problem here, and even it becomes more clear when we look the way that AI companies are treating the music industry, because they are afraid of like copyright infringement on that sense, but they were completely ignoring copyright for images out there and artists out there. So there is a big question to be asked, like does the ends justify the means kind of thing? For me, the answer is no. So we should see in the near future what are the answers from like big governments and even the international discussion that it could come from this. I don't know if it will get to that point, but to be honest, I think it doesn't matter at this point. Even if we reset everything, we will get to a point where the quality will be really high for those image generation algorithms. So we definitely need to start discussing what's next and how to prepare as artists, how to understand more, and how to build more with this tool, if I can say that, to really build a bright future that could be interesting for a lot of people, and even and especially a lot of artists and creative people out there. The biggest issue in my mind is quality. Like, we will get to a point where there is replacement and all of that. I'll discuss specifically replacement in the next topic, but there is a great video that I saw discussing the transition from lettering signs, handmade with like gold leaves and all of that, to printing, and the lack of quality that came from that. We can look at our current modern architecture, and that's definitely an example of lower quality due to industrial ways. So I really feel, to be honest, that a lot of, especially the heavy users that are laymen, they will help get to a more generic kind of look, and teach the AI that that's what they're looking for. They want that realist version of Egyptian cyberpunk directed by Tarantino kind of look, without even asking why, but just because. So I think that will help also maintain some of the qualities that we see in artists' work out there that we currently don't see in these materials. And one of the examples that is the biggest name out there is Greg Rutkowski. I know James Gurney also was used a lot on those prompts. But definitely, I see the influence in some of the images, and I got this from a blog post, I think from Insider or something like that. I see a resemblance to his work, but definitely I don't see the quality. So will it get there? Some people argue that it will. I don't know, to be honest. And before all you like tech bros out there that have never drawn anything come saying that it will get there because it's the rendering is getting there and all of that. These are people that have done thousands of images, thousands of paintings. So they understand subtleties in directions for what they want to put on a canvas or a digital canvas and all of that, and how to convey a message and tell a story that is way harder to comprehend than like the rationalization that you're trying to do. I've seen a lot of images right now from I've been doing my my experiments with Midjourney and all of that, and I'm looking constantly all over the internet for this kind of information. And to be honest, after using it, I'm less afraid of it than I was before, because I really don't feel that it will get there, especially in the hands of the layman. I think it's an amazing tool for those out there that have the eye for quality, eye for composition, the fundamentals of art, and have really built upon that to a point where they can use that as an idea generation tool and really combine elements and grow. And I'll talk about experimentation later on. But I really don't feel that we are in the moment, and even that we'll get to a moment where that's so deep in understanding. And I think the only way we could get there is if AI changes from like a diffusion kind of model to more of a construction and combination kind of model. Because I know artists that have more of a diffusion kind of way of thinking and come from abstraction. We can potentially talk about Craig Mullins, but I know he uses a lot of line as well. But I've seen a lot of his paintings that he comes from chaos and visualizes something beautiful. So I think Craig is one of the best examples of diffusion made right, and really finding beautiful shapes and contrasts and colors and everything from chaos. I know it's not the same process, but it's the closest I could get. But some people are more constructive. So I think it's a combination of both. If you put AI to train that in that sense and not just like get the biggest number of images out there in a lot of like trash material as well, that will get to that point. I might be wrong. Please, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But I might come back in a later video saying that, yeah, definitely I was wrong. But from my understanding of looking at a lot of images, the main replacement will be in the junior to mid tiers of artists, and the people that are more amateur than like high level professionals that have been doing this for like the last 20 years. And that is not to say that like Greg is not being harmed. Definitely he is being harmed, and it comes down to the data set discussion we already had. Another example on this topic is these two images that I found as well. They kind of remind me a bit of Yoon Ah's work in the colors and all of that. But it lacks design sense. It lacks design choices. It lacks a lot. So I'll add his portfolio in the description so you can compare and really see and try and see this gap that I'm talking about. Will it get to that kind of detail and care and storytelling and all of that? I really don't believe so at this current moment. Like Midjourney V5 can prove me wrong, but at this current moment, I really don't believe that's going to be the case. But let's definitely talk about I think the real big problem that is the replacement from juniors and mid levels. So talking about those kind of jobs that are closer to what you'd find on a Fiverr kind of platform, freelance websites all over and all of that. I think that will definitely be replaced really quickly. People are making batches of illustrations and selling stuff out there. Logos, designs, web design, all of that. And even like programming, translation, all of those jobs that are offered in this kind of websites, they will be replaced by AI as fast as it gets there. For artistic purposes and design purposes, I think we are already there or pretty close to it. At least it's making the process really fast. And on the other hand, the price is lower because it's easier. People are offering like illustrations for $15 and all of that on Fiverr because they're getting like massive amount of images and doing them on Midjourney and all of that. There's a big discussion to be had on copyright on that side, but I don't want to jump into that right now, especially because we don't have a lot of answers of how much you need to change an art to own it and be able to sell it and all. But you don't need to own the copyright to sell something, but there's a fine line there that I really don't know very much. What I want to focus on is services versus product. I think most of those freelance websites they are offering product instead of a service from an artist. If you look at artists in the industry, and my experience is basically on mobile games industry, artists are part of the development process. So they are a product as much as they are a service. They are interacting with a lot of people. They are making suggestions in all areas that even are not theirs. They are impacting programming and engineering. They are impacting game design. They are impacting economy decisions as well as product decisions down the line. So it's part way more of a production cycle than just delivering beautiful images, and that won't be replaced so fast. I think teams can shrink a bit because using the power of AI at some point when companies decide to really use them, definitely teams can shrink, but I think that it will take a lot of time, and it will mostly impact the juniors first and the seniors after that. When you get to a very senior level, art director level, there are lots of issues with copyrights for big institutions and big companies, like people working in blockbuster movies and all of that. I've heard also from the town hall and a discussion with Maciej Kuchara as well, and Steven Zapata, talking about every image that you bring and use as reference needs to be cleared by legal, so then you can go on and use that. If you ask AI to build a new architecture and all of that, or you use that as a reference, how will you clear that with legal? It's super hard. It's super big. So those jobs are not going to be replaced right now. It's going to be more exploratory work of people that are doing pitch work specifically, that were using a lot of images from the internet and all of that, using copyrighted materials without a problem as well. They will probably jump on a Midjourney and on some AI and get those information in there, those visual information in there. It could create a lot of alignment with production designers and all of that. So, and art directors from games and all. So I think that there's a big part of the work that will be impacted, but mostly the end product that will go into the movie or the final game needs really to be checked by legal before going forward. And that's going to be a big issue for companies to replace right away workforce with AI generated art. People that are doing commission and self-publishing, I just want to touch upon one last topic from the last one: service versus product. Also, when you're working on a project, a big project, you are working directly with a director from the game or the movie. So it's a service as well. You're making changes, you're like brainstorming together, you're getting influence in the photography and all of that. So there are big other areas that people and creative people and artists work on that won't be replaced by AI straight away. The commissions and self-publishing part, I think if you are doing commissions more on a product base, like low involvement with the client, and really pumping out lots of images as you would do on a freelance website, there's a problem. If you're like really building a fan base and having a relationship and a constant contact with the people that support you, I think it's way more stable. If you look at Loish, from like the 2 million people that she has following her, she has more than 4,000 patrons that support her work and get her tutorials and all of that. So that's a service. That's not just a product. So I think if you are one of those artists, start really questioning yourself. Am I a service or am I a product in the way I present myself, in the way I present value to my clients? And last but not least, like that will grow to other areas. I've seen animation frameworks and algorithms as well. Ubisoft has a nice one coming out, and a lot of papers studying that. So creation of videos, 3D is in an interesting spot as well. So a lot of the other areas need to start questioning themselves what the impacts will be going forward. And those impacts will come in different paces for different areas. Just to illustrate a bit what you're talking about, these are some examples I pulled from the community as well. So this is an example that would definitely substitute a mid-level product-based freelance website kind of book cover illustration and all of that. So I think that will definitely be impacted straight away. So really be mindful of that if you are doing this kind of work, and start preparing for what's next and how to differentiate yourself. I've put together some other images that I did on Midjourney, mostly using great masters from the past. So in this case, Joaquin Sorolla, Spanish painter, amazing. So a lot of stuff, it's getting really interesting. So it's just to give a contrast in the quality of the work and where it's getting there. I think this is the one that like really put me in an anxiety attack kind of way, because it's where I really felt that it's next level. I think this one is the one of the best I've seen so far. That really gets closer to what is being done by concept artists. I know my taste is also limited, so it will get to a point and someone might point out there are lots of mistakes, and you can use that for production and all of that. But definitely for brainstorming ideas, it's very good. It's beautiful, lighting works and all of that. So I can definitely see this as a movie scene and screenshots. So it's getting better. We can't say it's not. And even if you look and use just copyrighted work, it's getting better. I don't know if we're going to have laws and policies for transitioning and all of that. We didn't have that with Uber and other substitutions and all of that in our history. Will we have that this time with AI because it's bigger than a lot of what we've seen in the past? We don't know. It's one of those things that we'll have to wait for the future to really understand. I really want to try and end on a high note in some of the opportunities that I see out there, in some that are on my radar and the kind of work that I like. So definitely I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you feel would be great about AI going forward, and how can creative people start thinking about those opportunities and preparing themselves? I think this would be great if we could have an interaction here on the comments of like how to prepare ourselves, how to grow together, and really open new doors in the market, and not only rely on what's there, and what it could be, and get to what it could be. So I think the first opportunity that I see is in art history related topics. And I really feel that the biggest impact in the first moment would be in representational and figurative art. I think that's something that we have been trying to bring forth in the industry as a whole. A lot of the artists and fine artists we admire do this kind of work. And if you look at what's being done and valued in the fine arts system, it's completely different. So I think that will be a big one. If you look at what has been done by George Lucas on the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art or something like that, that he is building in LA, I think that will really help as well. And ask ourselves, and we can ask ourselves, are we telling the right stories, and how to tell those stories, and build a better way of communicating them moving forward, and how AI will factor into that. And it also creates a lot of more understanding of art. I've seen John Singer Sargent's name come up a lot. Lawrence Almata Thadema or Thadima, I don't know how to say that. Sorolla, a lot of the artists that the people that work in the entertainment industry admire, as they are representational figurative artists. If you're trying to figure out like and put your dreams and your RPG session, as Nicolas Uribe said in his talk with Steven Zapata as well, you really need figurative people to populate that. So I think it's gonna get some of those people like back to the radar. And a lot of people were forgotten from art history standpoint. Sargent is definitely one of them. Alma Thadima or Thadima was another big one. I saw a painting by him in London at one point that it was sold by the price of the frame at some point in the 50s or 40s. So it gets to that kind of misuse and disdain with art, and I think we're getting to an interesting point where that might come back to the scene. Some examples of that, I did this first exploration in Midjourney 3 V3, trying to use a little bit of more Orientalism and Orientalist academic painters and all of that. So I think there are interesting exploration, as well as the garden that I pulled from the community as well, with like different architecture, landscape design, and how that could factor in what we're teaching to people, and how people are getting interested in our history and learning more about that. Also did some experiments on Sargent. Sargent is this one, as well as Sorolla, like a new painting by Joaquin Sorolla and what that looks like. There are interesting elements to take from that. The lighting is great, for example, and Alma Thadima as well. This one. So a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting feet and hands, as always, and anatomy and all of that. But I think it's getting to that point. I also feel that will definitely impact traditional art. I already feel it's been growing for the last few years, and it will get really bigger. It's the real NFT, if you think about it, like the non-fundable token. It's the unique, even if it's like numbered and limited edition print, signed print, and all of that. It creates a uniqueness that other things don't have, and especially in a world of chaos full of images. Definitely the people that will be able to do that on a piece of paper, on a piece of canvas, and all of that will definitely be valued and really valued, and understand those processes and all of that. And there is also a personal connection, as I said, on the commission and self-publishing side. uh, and it goes even deeper. To look at a painting like the one I showed from Sargent here, uh, this is not a sergeant, and this is not a person. There's no curiosity in there. The prompt said like a new Everglades watercolor by Sargent. The painting isn't from someone that went to that place, experienced that, and put that down on paper. I think that personal connection will never go away. To understand that, especially if someone painted it plein air, and you know it's from a place, you know the person was there. Even if you know the place, as I really like to see how different artists picture real places in the world, there's a big gap in there. So I think that's what I mean on of personal connection. On experimentation, the example that I brought is not the best one, but it's just something that caught my attention. That is like a Christmas tree with Egyptian colors, gold, and elements in there. So I think it's something fresh and interesting, at least to take a look. And it's interesting that this also brings a sign, signature here. So it's weird in a way, but in other ways it's interesting. So I think that from a market standpoint will create a lot of iteration. I would love to see the beast that someone like Craig Mullins could become using this as part of his work, and really explore and have his sensibility for shapes and all, and get that to the next level. I can't wait to see what comes in terms of really growing the industry. We have been living through weird, like, creative times, right? The movies and all of that. We are seeing more of the same. So creativity is in a weird spot, to be honest, already without AI. So I really feel sometimes that the experimentation speed and lots of different references and putting together stuff could really help us take the next step in creative processes that we are not looking at right now. I don't want to see the next Disney, like, re-envisioning of past movies and maintaining the same direction. We can look at even different directions of putting that movie together, and new stories and a lot of stuff. So I think it's really interesting to see where it's gonna go from now. And last but not least, I just want to list one of the topics here to come to this discussion, that is the educational aspect. I really enjoyed looking at these images. The left one is a Game of Thrones in Latin America in the 1200s. It's interesting to understand the influence of the world building from the civilization it's looking at. So I think that could be great educational material for people looking at 11th century kind of or actually 13th century kind of architecture in all that era. So it's very interesting. And the other one on the right, the prompt said, and it's from the community as well, the prompt said the building of the pyramids. It has like almost a buzz in there that is weird, and no aliens, but it's a way to envision something, and that could really be the starting point of a conversation of how that happened and all of that, and get more students involved. Even one example that comes to mind is a person that really loves reading manga and all. Could we give normal content that would be important for basic education in the format of comics and mangas to help them engage if they are disconnected with that? Maybe, and it's not being done right now. So I really want to just bring this kind of thought. I would love to hear other ideas, so please share them on the comments. I think this is the start of a conversation. If you got to this point, thanks for being here. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share with other people that might enjoy it as well. I'll keep an eye out for any updates that come up. I'm putting together another video talking a little bit about the emptiness in art right now. So I'll really bring that and add to the comments once it's done as well. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll definitely see you in another video.